people. And since tonight we're talking about the sacred union between the masculine and feminine, obviously there's when we actually have two people, male gendered and female gendered, but there's also times that it might be couples that are same-sex couples, and then there's those of us that are single. As I mentioned, my wife passed away a long time ago, 2011. And so often there is also the part of balancing the masculine and the feminine within ourselves. And obviously all of us have a masculine side and a feminine side. Of course, I see all female gendered people in our outside audience here, and in our Zoom room audience, it's a little bit more of a mix. But I'm curious, I'm going to go to gallery view so I can see what our online audience says about this. For those of you that have your cameras on in here and those out there, how many of you feel like you have a highly developed masculine side? Who says highly developed? Okay. And who would say you have a moderately developed masculine side? And how many of you feel that you're not able to be as often in your divine feminine as you would like because you're having to do so much masculine stuff? Yeah, almost everybody raising their hand there. So I want to address that because that's one of the main things that I've discovered in coaching is how many female gendered people are not able to drop into their divine feminine. They're not able to relax. And I do find that ideally, when a woman, female gendered, or even male gendered, when we really drop into our divine feminine side, that's when we have deep meditation, deep insights, whatever our spiritual practice might be, is when we feel most connected to the divine or whatever you might relate to in a spiritual way. Who can relate to that? Notice that when you have to really be relaxed and not in, pardon my language, you're not in get shit done mode, right? But you have to be in that relaxed state to really have those higher states of consciousness. Yeah. And one of the challenges, and I can say this as a man, for those of you who are married or who have boyfriends, men somehow expect their woman to automatically drop into their divine feminine side. But they've been busy getting stuff done all day long and being in the masculine, you can't just flip. And some women need hours to transition from that busy masculine get things done space into the more relaxed, really ready to receive space. Is that true for? Yeah, most everybody's nodding their head. Yeah. How about you? How do you manage that? Because you
certainly. So yeah, when I think about relationship, sometimes I'll map it onto ballroom dancing. I'm curious how many people have done ballroom or some kind of partner dancing in the room. So in ballroom dancing, there's like learning how to do the dance, and then there's a lead and there's a follow. And generally, the lead is the masculine role. I'm guiding and directing what's happening. And the female role or the feminine role is to attune and to listen to that guidance and go into that receptive feminine. And when you have that balance, then the dance can form. If two people are trying to lead and no one's following, it's wonky. It just doesn't quite work. And same, if both people are trying to follow and no one's leading, it doesn't work. So this polarity that Scott's talking about is really essential in the dance, especially when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to going into sacred sexuality. So I definitely have a masculine get shit done part in myself. And my husband recognizes that, and he's mostly in his masculine. He has a bit of feminine receptive, but he's much more comfortable in the masculine. And so when I've had a big work day and we want to shift into intimacy, he knows I need some time to unwind. to get out of my rational, my to-do list, but I need it to be thorough. If my mind is still going on, oh, I don't want to forget to do X, Y, Z, and I don't write it down, I can't let it go, and so part of that masculine will stay online. So I need to go, okay, I've taken care of tracking what I need to do later. There's nothing urgent right now, and then I need to just turn that off. And so sometimes I'm learning to play guitar. I like to sing. I'll turn on some music. I'll maybe take a bath or a hot tub. But we start to go into that mode. And sometimes we'll pull out the massage table. And that can be a wonderful way, both receiving and giving, for me to drop into that receptive mode and that feminine polarity, so that we can start to go into a different dance of intimacy.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to go back to gallery view to see our online audience, and good to see so many of our Global Peace Tribers with us. Welcome, everybody. One of the things I've had to work a lot with men on is helping men really understand the importance of creating safety for their female partner. And so a practice for those of you that are in relationship is when you're in that time of wanting to make the transition from get stuff done mode into the more relaxed divine feminine, is what I call the holding practice of finding a really comfortable position where you're both relaxed, but you are feeling held. And tell your partner how you want to be held. Do you like to be held tight, loose? Where do you want their hands? Maybe on your heart, maybe in other parts of your tummy. Not for the purpose of sexual arousal, but for the purpose of just relaxing. Because our body needs homeostasis. We're mammals. We literally need physical touch to survive. And oftentimes our body can relax while the mind is still spinning. The mind be still thinking about all the things that need to get done or the things to process. But the body's like, hey, shut up. Let's just relax right now. My wife, God bless her soul, and you'll hear us talk about nonviolent communication in a moment. When I first started studying nonviolent communication, I always wanted to talk everything through. And my wife, bless her, would say, Scott, shut up and just hold me, right? And she was right. She didn't need lots of talk. She needed to be held. And that really is where I learned initially 20 years ago, we just need to hold and relax and turn off the verbiage and let the bodies relax first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's such a core practice that it's almost like breathing in our relationship. We have our morning snuggle time, and then there are just times throughout the day where it's like, let's just sit into each other's arms, and that's part of the way that we keep a sense of connection, intimacy, and attunement with each other, but also emotional regulation. It's nourishing and gets us back into a sweet space.
Yeah. How many of you are familiar with nervous system regulation? About most of our audience, and out here, most everybody's nodding their heads. So it is really important for each person to find their own ways of relaxing the nervous system, calming the nervous system down. Now, our topic tonight is about the sacred union of male and female, masculine and feminine. And so, how many of you have studied or taken a course in Tantra or sacred sexuality? Not so many. Okay.
How many of you have heard of Tantra and you've gone, oof, I want to stay far away from that? It seems like there's something messy there.
Anybody? Thank you for being honest. Yeah, looking here. Okay. She and I both Katrina and I have done a lot of study. In fact, I used to teach Tantra and sacred sexuality when I was younger. And Tantra literally means to weave. Now, there are as many forms of Tantra as there are of Christianity, right? If you ask a Catholic what is Christianity, you're going to get a different answer than a Mormon or a Jehovah's Witness or a Presbyterian. And it's kind of the same with Tantra. There's Neo-Tantra, there's East Indian Tantra, there's some people who practice Tantra that are completely celibate. Then there's what I call California hot tub Tantra. So, there's a lot of different forms. But the importance and the reason we bring it up is that the word Tantra actually means to weave. And for me, Tantra, sacred sexuality, is weaving our masculine and our feminine, weaving two bodies together, and then whether or not you're single or in a relationship, weaving our sexuality, or if you will, our physical self, with our spiritual self. Most of us growing up in America, most of us here probably grew up in America, there's a big split between spirituality and sexuality. You're either spiritual or you're sexual. And what I loved about my understanding and experience of Tantra was it's weaving the two together. To me, my greatest moments were with my wife making love and then praying, and making love and then praying. And there was something very beautiful about that weaving that made a huge impression on me. And so the weaving of the masculine and the feminine, the weaving of the physical with the spiritual is, to me, a huge part of what we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm. This was actually significant when it comes to my first marriage and part of my learning between that marriage and the one that I'm in now. I could make my ex-husband wrong for that moment of wanting to sleep with his coworker, or for things that happened after that that made our relationship impossible. However, what I didn't understand at the time was that I was able to just turn off my sexuality and channel it spiritually. He couldn't do that. He didn't have the ability to. For him, he felt more of a sense of love and connection with the divine through sexual expression, and I didn't understand that. For me, sexual expression was like it just felt right or it didn't feel right, but I didn't know the difference. And so there were things that didn't feel right with him, and I didn't know how to talk about it. I would try, and my body just slowly shut down. And so he was in his young 20s, and he didn't want to be celibate for the rest of his life, and he just had no idea what to do. And we had no way of talking about it. I didn't know that what I needed was a level of presence and sacredness, like, let's shower before we make love. Let's beautify ourselves. Let's light some candles. Let's say some prayers. Let's add in massage. Let's learn about our bodies. Let's talk about what feels wonderful, and we'll create a mutually fulfilling experience. And what feels uncomfortable, and let's talk about it rather than just sweeping it under the rug. We didn't have any of those skills. And the two biggest things that can undermine a relationship are sex and money. Mm-hmm. And so this was the one that undermined our relationship. And it was also one of the first ones that I went, oh, I put him in an impossible situation. I didn't know that. I thought I was just taking care of myself. I didn't realize that he has a drive that's so much different than mine that he can't just turn it off. And that was one of my first experiences of stretching into compassion and empathy for his experience. And it's not a unique experience. Many, many men, and there are women too, who have a strong drive, and it's like eating food. They need just a certain amount of it to feel like they're really alive and that life is worth living. And so that was one of the first ways that I noticed I needed an education. I needed to heal my own body, and I needed to understand why my body had shut down and had a harder time feeling erotic pleasure. I needed to learn about that. So while I can carry some in nonviolent communication, we'll call it jackal, about California hot tub neo-tantra, because there is some damage that happens under the name and banner of Tantra. What I appreciate are the practices that can build and strengthen the erotic bond between two people, because when that is strong, it'll help you through storms. It'll help you to get reconnected and help you to get attuned. So learning to love yourself emotionally, spiritually, physically, erotically, and to share that with another is part of this dance of attunement, where you're learning how to go into this flow of giving and receiving and dancing beautifully together. So I'm curious how many people are familiar with Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It came out like 20 years ago, right? Yeah.
And John Gray speaks often at the Soul Search events.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some of you have seen him speak at some of. Yeah, there he is. Yeah. And John's been a regular on our show that we're doing, the Awakening World show. Oh, that's right. Thank you for putting us back on.
Yeah, but one of the primary things he talks about is how a woman's access to her eroticism is through her heart. She needs to feel safety, presence, emotional connection, feel his masculine and feel her feminine, have that space to blossom. And the way to his heart is through his eroticism. He wants your adoration, your appreciation, your presence. He wants to know that he's wanted by you. And to want him physically and closely makes a huge difference for the masculine, a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of, having worked with over 1,000 couples, there's an irony, which is that most men, their thing is, if my woman really loves me, she wants me to be inside of her. And if she doesn't want me to be inside of her, she doesn't really love me. And that is a primal thought and built-in belief system that almost all men, especially if they're younger or less mature, have.
We don't have the reciprocal thing going on here.
It's almost the opposite. It's like, if you really love me, you'll love me.
You wouldn't pressure me,
right,
regardless
exactly.
of what happens.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. How many can relate to that as a challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it ultimately comes down to understanding both. People ask us, well, what's love coaching? And what is love? And having studied relationship my whole life and having studied spirituality my whole life, I've come to the conclusion at the age of 70, I just turned 70 2 weeks ago, that the highest form of love is compassion. And the practical daily application of compassion is radical acceptance. If we can have radical acceptance of the past, radical acceptance of ourselves and each other, that's real love. It's not romantic love, it's not conditional love. It's really learning to have radical acceptance of what is.
And I'm going to partner that with, if you're looking for your life partner, it's not radical acceptance of anyone for anything they do. Discernment is key. Know yourself deeply. Know what it is you need. Know what does and doesn't work for you. Learn how to communicate it. And so, you want to find a partner that you really look and say, is this someone who I can accept? Everybody, when we fall in love with someone in the beginning, we've got, this whole this neurochemistry that comes online. The oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin is an incredible natural high. There's serendipity and synchronicity that happens, and it's like God is saying, he's the one. This one's the one. I can tell I'm getting all the signs. And there's a chemistry that's going on, and so it's like, he likes dogs and I do too. We both always wanted to go to France. Like, all of those things happen, and we mark all of our checklists go off. And then after a while, that neurochemistry starts to die down, and you go, he always leaves that toilet seat up, and there's socks on the floor again, like the hamper's right there. Right? That list comes up. Now, will happen with anyone. You're not going to find the perfect person who checks all the good boxes and not the other ones. And so the discernment is to recognize there will be challenges with everyone. Is the balance of all the check boxes that are essential for me strong enough that the parts that are not what I would prefer are still worth it? And then you can go into having acceptance. I've chosen this. I'm choosing now to use this partnership as a way to deepen my growth and to be in a path of awakening together. And compassion is key, and a practical way to apply compassion is through empathy and through tools like nonviolent communication.
Which we'll talk about, but I want to come back to radical acceptance for self for a moment. Our mentor, Marshall Rosenberg, used to say the most important form of empathy is self-empathy. And really learning to accept ourself is huge. I truly believe that the meaning of life is we're here to learn to love, starting with ourself. And self-love is not selfish. People who actually have healthy self-love, those are the people who go out to the world and give, because they're giving from the overflow. It's the people who don't love themselves, fundamentally, that are just grasping everywhere, and that's where you get that narcissistic or egocentric behavior. So learning to accept ourselves is really important because we're all getting older. We all haven't reached, maybe the model of what we thought perfection would be or what we thought our life should be. So learning to have radical acceptance for self is really, really important. And again, since the topic is the sacred union, when we are in any relationship, whether it's romantic or Katrina and I, of course, are platonic, but every important relationship in our life can serve as a sacred mirror to reflect back. And so we project onto everybody else. Every thought we have about another person, no matter how much we know them, is a projection. And likewise, we're receiving other people's projections. So slowing down and looking at, wow, this is my projection of you. This is your projection of me. What is that teaching me about the way I see the world or the way I see myself? And this form of self-inquiry, this form of self-reflection is very, very important to our true growth, our true evolution. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. Yes?
Just to make sure I got it correctly, like when you're saying that we project ourselves onto other people because that's what we do. Like we behave in the ways that we are, and that's our projection of ourselves. So for the other person, they're projecting them.
Let me clarify it because I said a lot. So there was a question from the audience about clarification. Every thought any of us will ever have about another person, even if it's someone we know as well as our best friend or our spouse, our thought about them is a projection, okay? We think that this is what they're thinking or what they're feeling. And the reason this is important is, as a coach, having worked with 1,000 couples and families, having broken down a gazillion arguments and fights, almost every unnecessary argument starts with someone reacting to an inaccurate projection, right? I mean, I'm sure you all can think of a time when somebody thought you were angry, thought you were this, thought you were that, and then they reacted to their projection of you, right? And then that creates this whole unnecessary argument. So the point being, when you think someone's angry, or you think someone doesn't like you, or you think someone is not respecting you, ask, don't tell. Don't react to your projection. Hey, vulnerably, the way you just spoke to me, your tone of voice, I interpreted that as you being angry with me. I interpret it as you dismissing me. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
If we all could learn how to do that, I promise you, the number of conflicts in your life will radically decrease with all your relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love turning assumptions into curiosity. And in order to do that, you have to be able to see the assumptions that you're making as well. And that's a whole deep dive into self-reflection. Again, in that first failed marriage, there's so much you learn from the difficult things that happen in your life. I didn't realize how many things I was assuming about my first husband that made it really difficult for him to relate to me in his highest way. Sure, he had some challenging ways about him. But I would then assume, well, he's selfish and he just doesn't care and he's not sensitive. And I'd start to make these assumptions and assess him in ways that made sense to me. And they gave a rationale for the pain I was feeling and for the problem that I was dealing with. But every time I made one of those assumptions, I was then creating like a filter through which I listened to him. Then I was listening for proof that what I thought was right. And that impacted how he related to me as well. There's a feedback loop that happens. And part of what shifted our relationship as I had this realization about the nature of projection and the nature of thought on the world around us. And I went, wow, it's been a number of years since he and I have lived together. What if I don't know him? Can I meet him halfway where we were swapping our son because we were living 2 hours away from each other? Can I meet him this time and pretend I don't know him? Not assume he's going to be late, assume he doesn't care, assume he won't communicate. Today, I don't know him anymore. Let me look at him fresh. And it was stunning to me how that very day, he showed up on time. He was a lot warmer. We had a good conversation. It was still short, but so many of my assumptions started to fall apart, and I got to immediately experience the impact of thoughts on my reality and get that feedback loop that helped me go, oh, this thing about questioning the assumptions and the beliefs I have about others and getting curious instead, this is powerful.
Just so you know, we've got 8 minutes left.
Okay.
So we want to talk briefly about compassionate communication. How many of you are familiar with nonviolent communication? Also looking to my audience here. Okay. So my life changed in 2000. I think Barbara mentioned that I've had 2 careers. One was as a writer and director of educational television, and then of course my career as a coach. And that transition happened in the year 2000 when I was hired to produce a series of videotapes with Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, the founder of Nonviolent Communication. And I actually traveled with him for 3 weeks. That's very loud. I traveled with him for 3 weeks and just watched him in action with so many amazing people. I watched him working with educators, couples, families, even convicts in prison. And no matter who he was talking to, they were all learning something valuable. I was really, really, really impressed. So anyway, that's what led me to, by doing these videos with him, led me to then ultimately becoming a coach, utilizing what I learned from Marshall and becoming part of Nonviolent Communication. Shortly after that, met Katrina. She became interested in nonviolent communication, and she's really run with it. And so we want to let people know about 2 things. One, and we'll take questions. We'll have a little bit of time for questions from our online audience or from our in-person audience. But wanted to let you know that we are going to be teaching a course together on relationship mastery. It's going to start in early April, either April 4th or April 11th. 12-week course every Saturday morning, and it's a 2-hour deep dive into really learning the essentials of communication, how to really, and this is for singles or for couples. And then I also want for Katrina to share a little bit about her cards. And for my online audience, I'm going to just share a screen. This takes them to your website, right? So I'm going to share a screen for a moment as you talk about it, and let you talk a little bit about your cards.
Sure. So nonviolent communication, and this course will be mostly grounded in that, not in the sacred sexual teachings. Although anytime there's questions, we can weave that in. Nonviolent communication not only teaches us about the nature of thought and the projections we can have or the stories we can tell ourselves and how to catch that and be curious about it, but it also tells us about the very valuable nature of understanding our emotions, giving language to the emotions that are arising in us, understanding that that is precious information. It's letting us know whether our core needs are met or unmet. If you don't know if your core needs are met or unmet, you will have unconscious strategies to try to meet them because it's just our nature. We're compelled in our biology to try and meet our needs. Like the need, I'm hungry, I have a need for food, or you're just going to be compelled to eat. I need to be heard and understood. You'll be compelled to communicate, maybe at the wrong time, maybe with too much volume, maybe with some not choice words. But the need is to be heard. When you can understand the emotions that are there and the needs that you're trying to meet, it gives you more access to being able to communicate to your partner, hey, this is what's going on for me. This is why I'm upset. This is what I'd love to have. This is what didn't work for me. It'll give you a way to do that that seeks to really avoid anything that can land as blame, shame, criticism, make wrong, and the kind of habits that naturally undermine relationship. It gives you a new framework for communicating. So the cards here, this is how I learned and practiced nonviolent communication. It's something I had created, thank you, many years ago when I was first healing my relationship with my ex-husband. And our son had also gone through a lot of challenges in that time that we were not communicating well. So there was a breakdown in my relationship with my son where he was yelling at me every single day. And I created the cards and played a simple game with him, and these fits stopped overnight. And that was almost 20 years ago. We have an amazing relationship now. We didn't go through the terrible teens because this became our foundation. So we didn't go into the power dynamics that are so common in parent-child relationships. Instead, he came to understand that as his mother, I was also his partner, and I was looking to see how I could support him to have the best life possible because I love and adore him. This is what supported me to do that. So the story about that and cards and a 108-page guidebook, so much of what I've learned in these last close to 20 years are in this box. These are $49.95 on the website. There's a QR code, and I have a few of them here.
And for our online audience, real quickly, maybe you can show this QR code.
Sure.
For our online audience, here is the QR code for if you are interested in our Relationship Essentials course. Just get out your cameras and go to the QR code, and that'll take you to a little form that you can fill out. And for those who are interested, either Katrina or I will provide a free discovery session to learn a little bit about what your relationship situation is and give you some tips and tools, and also give you a chance to get to know us a little bit better because you might be interested in taking our course. So here's the QR code for that for my online audience, and then she's going to hold it up for our in-person audience.
Or we can leave it at the table here if you'd like to walk up and take a picture.
Yes, that's another way of doing it. And unfortunately, we're actually out of time. It's so short. It goes by very quickly. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to read any of the wonderful comments that came in. Jerry Anderson, I saw yours. George, Diara, thank you everybody for your comments. I'm going to turn it back over to Omashar to do a song while we say goodbye to our in-person audience, and then I'll swing around and reopen the computer and chat with you guys online in a few minutes. But I'm going to turn it over to Omashar and then maybe Tiara for some prayer as well.
How could anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle, and how deeply you're connected to my soul? How could anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle, and how deeply you're connected to my soul? That you're anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle, and how deeply you're connected to my soul? One more time, then prayers. How could anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle, and how deeply you're connected to my soul, and how deeply you're connected to my soul, and how deeply you're connected to my soul.
So beautiful, Mashar.
All right here, Diora. I'm just going to let that one sink in. And whenever I'm singing with that song, I just feel so connected to everybody. It just unrolls and unrolls and unrolls. And I'm going to be sacredly silent now as Diora leads us in a moment of prayer before Scott comes back.
It was so rich. And weaving in the magic of what Scott and Katrina just shared with us in this beautiful song from Omashar, and feeling that self-love rising up from deep within, and allowing that to come in and fill your entire body. And in each hand, we can hold our sacred masculine and feminine, what we love about it, what we're not thrilled about, where we're going with it. And we can take all those parts of ourselves and weave them in like that magic of Tantra, taking your beautiful feminine self, your divine masculine self, and just bathing yourself in these energies, allowing the codes to rise, and just knowing that we're still growing and still integrating, giving ourselves permission to be freely expressed from our masculine doing and our divine feminine self. And we pray for this type of tolerance within ourselves, knowing that it goes out to the collective, that all those on the spectrum of masculine and feminine in biological, emotional, physical, spiritual ways, just allowing for everyone to come to their own source, their own divine nature of expression, allowing more room for love, for that spiritual, sensual magic to occur, freedom, joy, bliss, connection to the divine. And just breathing that in again. And really blessing Katrina and Scott for all the work they've done in this area. And blessing you, Omashar, for your beautiful way of being able to bring it into the music, into the words, into the vibes for us today and always. And with that, we say amen, and so it is.
Thank you so very, very, very much. Well, thank you everybody for being with us on our Sacred Sunday show. And you got a little bit of a taste of the medicine that Katrina and I offer. And I'm going to go one more time to the QR code. And so everybody get out your cameras. And if any of you are interested in possibly taking our Relationship Essentials course, get out your camera, and that's going to take you to a little form, which you can then save on your device and fill out. I'll leave it up for a few minutes. And any of our Love Coach people that are sincerely interested in the course, either I or Katrina or both of us will offer a free 15 to 20 minute discovery session to kind of learn a little bit more about your relationship issues. We've just decided last night that we're going to do this course together, and we're excited about it. And you can learn all about it by going to relationshipessentials.org. I'll need to update the website a little bit. It's based on the last time I taught the course. But it's going to be 12 weeks every Saturday morning. And the last time I taught it, Kristen Hoffman and her boyfriend Troy took it. And I think a few others that are part of our Love Coach and Global Peace Tribe family did. And we are going to do a Global Peace Tribe Love Coach Academy hybrid retreat sometime soon, sometime probably late spring, early summer. So kind of bringing those two worlds together, my Love Coach Academy world and the Global Peace Tribe world. And yeah, that's a big part of what's going to be happening in this new year, 2026. And it's Vaillancourt, Vaillancourt, Vaillancourt. And her website to learn out about her stuff is Love Smart Cards, lovesmartcards.com. And I just put that into the chat box. So, all right. Hopefully everybody, you know what I can do too is I'll put the QR code into the chat box. So if any of you still need it, there you go. All right. I haven't made the posters yet. This Wednesday night, the next Awakening World show is going to be all about creative expression and exploring creative expression. Of course, Omashar will be with us. And then a week from last night, next Saturday night, we'll be celebrating Martin Luther King holiday weekend. And we also have a special couple of features of Light on Light. Also on Wednesday night, Jerry Anderson, the wild monk of the Mystic Monastery, is going to be our next guest in this new program that we just started with Susan Bloomquist on Meet the Community. So we're going to get to know Jerry a little bit more on Wednesday night. A reminder, if any of you would like to be featured for about 10 minutes on an Awakening World show as part of the Meet the Community feature that we just started, send me a private message and let me know that you would be interested, and we'll figure out a time for us to do that. And we can do it as a pre-record like Susan Bloomquist requested for last week, or live like Jerry will be doing it. Either way is fine. I'm going to bring up my colleagues, Omashar and Diara, see if there's any final thoughts that either of you would like to share, or anything that I missed in the chat box.
No, you missed nothing, and there's no final thoughts, only beginning thoughts. When I thought of final thoughts, I thought, no, it's the end, but it's not, it's the beginning. And how awesome, Scott, that you invited us into your home and hearth. And Katrina, what a sweetheart, what an absolutely clear, beautiful channel she is for that which she has lived through and now has distilled into something that can help us with our relationships. Every time I hear her talk, it's like, wow, she's just getting more and more like a crystal vase in the way she lays out what she needs us to work on within our relationship. So that's my bit here, Diara.
Thank you. And thank you, Scott and Katrina, for giving us permission to love our human bodies and to really bless them and be in them and have them be all they can be, and to exonerate pleasure and bliss, and to have it all here on this.
It is even talking about the split between sexuality and spirituality. I've kind of known it, but I've avoided it. And for some, and the word tantric, yes, has brought up in me, oh, that's a bit icky, or a bit I just have not got the education there from my birth. And so thank you for exposing that. Exposing that is probably not the right word, but hey.
Well, it's true. I mean, bringing our sexuality and our spirituality together it's divine, and it's such an essential part of the human experience. In this lifetime, I only made one movie, and I highly unlikely I'll make another movie. So the one movie that I made this life was called Men in Love, and that's what it was about. It was about combining, because we are sexual beings and we are physical beings and we're also spiritual beings. And the people I know that are most evolved, if you will, have found a way to bring those two together. And there's some people that are highly spiritual, but they've disconnected their physical body. And other people that are all in their physical body, but they've disconnected from the divine. But when we can bring those two together, then it's a beautiful thing. And then we bring that together in relationship, that's the best. It's the absolute best. So I love you guys. Thank you, Omashar and Diara. And I'm going to go to Gallery View to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for being with us on a Sacred Sunday show. We'll continue to do a few more of these throughout the year. And have a wonderful few days. And I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. And Tracy Potter, all the way from Australia. I love when we have people like Tracy from Australia, or Frode.
So good to be here.
Yeah.
Can I please send you an email about the course you're both doing?
I'm sorry, what's the question, Tracy?
I'll just send you like an email, because we're closing now. But I'm in the other end of the world, and it could be a weird time. But I'm an old teacher and educator in medicine, in herbal medicine and that, and it ties in with all of this.
Yeah.
And so I thought I wouldn't mind to offer myself in some way. And I can't think right now because I've been up all night at school. And so I thought I'd just send you a note.
Yeah, please do. I just put my email address into the chat box. So if you save the chat at the very, very end, you'll see Love Coach Scott Catamas at Gmail. And send me an email, and make sure you put in the subject line my name, so that I
Yeah.
see it. For Scott, this is from
Okay.
Tracy, so that it doesn't get lost in the spam, because my spam folder might not have your email address in it. I'm not sure if it does or not. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And great to see Scotty Satori, who always connects so many communities. You are the community connector, Scotty. Oh, and here comes Katrina. People were singing your praises, my dear. So I'll let Omashar or DR repeat a little bit of what they said to you. Here, try that. Try coming in. Here she comes.
There we go. Hello, great to see everyone.
Hey, beautiful one. I was just extolling your virtues along with Diara, but that you've been able to distill your life experiences into what is now just a crystal ping. Because I've known you, been acquainted with you for about 3 or 4 years now, and what you brought to the table 4 years ago was awesome, but now it's just distilled into this crystalline thing. The way you speak is just so to the point. And
Oh,
I got so much out of your um, sharing with Scott this morning in that short amount of time. Thank you so much. Yeah.
well, thank you, Omashar. I appreciate that. You know, like everything, practice makes progress.
Yeah, right there it is.
So,
Yeah.
right, it's a passion and really wonderful to be able to refine my ability to share the gifts of learning in a way that can reach other people's hearts.
I want to acknowledge a couple of the messages that just came in. Tia Therese has 2 sets of
Oh.
Katrina's cards and books. She saw them on Global Peace Tribe. And Lorna, yes, a watch party to watch Men in Love. That is a great idea.
Yes.
I have a 35 millimeter print of it in my storage space. And I've got a DVD, a little DVD. I'll have to figure out the best way to play it with new technologies. But
You can just send it down the road for $20 and get them to put it onto a digital format.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what we'll have to do. Yeah,
We'll show it at our retreat that we're going to be having.
that's a great idea. I'll cuddle up and at the retreat, watch it, and we also do bedtime stories. Katrina and I have led probably a dozen retreats together.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things we do is bedtime stories
With Uncle Scott.
with Uncle Scott, where we all get dressed in our jammies and we tell stories, and that's a fun part of the retreat. All right, you guys, I love each and every one of you, and I hope to see you on Wednesday night. Thank you for being with us for a lovely Sacred Sunday show. And thank you, Omashar and TR, for hosting and music and all that you provide.